How would you feel about having to pee in a cup for help? I ask because this is what the federal government wants some people to do from January 1st in order to qualify for welfare, and I think we should all wonder how we would feel if this was us. Because in a sense it is us, or at least should be us if we support this policy and don't believe in selective morality. Under the trial plan, which is still before the Senate, 5,000 new welfare recipients will be tested for drugs. Those who test positive will have 80% of their payment quarantined onto a debit card that can't be used to buy drugs or alcohol. After a second positive test which, in a nice touch, the unemployed person will have to pay for, the recipient will be forced into drug treatment. Refusal to take a test will, of course, result in welfare payments being cancelled immediately. You can see why this plan appeals to politicians. It's not just that there are always votes in being seen to come down hard on supposed dole bludgers. It's that the policy has a first-look veneer of reasonableness. It's hard to argue with the position that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used to support drug habits. And this plan, it is claimed, offers help to the addicted. It gives them a path out of hopelessness. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has even gone so far as to say it is a policy based on love. But take a closer look at the plan and you can't help but think that, if this is love, then we need less love. For a start, let's just state the obvious: drugs are not the greatest barrier to employment. The greatest barrier to employment is a lack of jobs. No amount of attempting to put the blame solely on individuals will alter this simple fact, and we shouldn't let governments get away with it. Also, a far more prevalence among the unemployed than drug problems are issues of mental and physical health, as well as challenges of discrimination and isolation and even poor public transport. But these aren't things the government can grandstand and get moralistic about, so they don't receive anything like the same attention. But that's the thing, the government doesn't really want to help the unemployed with this plan. That's not its aim. Its aim is to win the support of those who believe the unemployed have it easy and are getting wasted on the public dime. This policy isn't about help. It is simply cynical politics. It is populism masked as policy. It is estimated there are between 200,000 and 500,000 people who seek treatment for drug and alcohol issues in Australia each year who are not able to access services. So, what will happen to the unemployed person who is forced into treatment after failing a drug test? Are they to join the back of the queue? Or do they jump the queue, a practice the government is usually fervently against? If the latter is the case, then presumably someone who is motivated to get off drugs misses out so that someone who has been forced into treatment can take their place. As anyone who works in the drug and welfare sector will tell you, this is counterproductive and stupid. But then, according to testimony given to a Senate committee, the government didn't consult any experts before announcing this policy, so perhaps it isn't surprising that the plan has huge holes in it. If they had bothered to talk to anyone who knew anything, they would have been told this policy won't work and will only further stigmatize and marginalize some of the most vulnerable people in the country. In 2013, the Australian National Council on Drugs looked into welfare drug testing, and its conclusion was unequivocal. There is no evidence that drug testing welfare beneficiaries will have any positive effects for those individuals or for society, and some evidence indicating such a practice would have high social and economic costs. Introducing a policy with a high economic cost seems a strange way of going about saving taxpayer dollars on welfare. But then you only have to look to New Zealand to see an example of what can happen. They spent $1 million drug testing 8,001 welfare recipients, and only 22 people tested positive. That's more than $45,000 per positive test. A final point about this plan is that it is based on a selective morality. The truth is, it is middle and upper class welfare that has grown in recent times, while the dole has not risen in real terms for decades. We are all beneficiaries of public money in the form of subsidies, tax breaks and direct payments. So, if you're a supporter of the plan to drug test the unemployed, and according to a news poll out last week 3 in 4 voters are, you might want to ask yourself why you believe only the poor should have to piss in a cup for their help from the state. Simon Castles is an Age Desk editor and a former editor of The Big Issue.